In 2008, the first round, you led the election. You were thought to be the front runner by many international broadcast agencies. The opinion polls put you ahead, even by the BBC's polls. There was a question of whether you were going to win a first round or not. But you won the first round, and you led the ballot by over 100,000 votes. You were overtaken by your closest competitor, Professor Mills, who won the second round and was eventually sworn in as president. Must have been a very difficult time for you, and I want to know how you felt about it, as this is the first time we were speaking after the election.
Oh, clearly. I mean, in circumstances like that, one was bound to have felt very disappointed. I thought we'd done a lot of very good work. I thought we had a good record as a government to stand on, to make our appeal to the country. But it was always going to be a close election. I mean, we never had any illusions that this election was going to be a walkover and that it was going to be close. But obviously, hoping that the closeness will be in our favor. It turned out to be the other. So clearly a lot of disappointment. But really, as far as I was concerned, the disappointment was even much more for the followers of our party and the activists of our party, that they had got so close to the third term agenda, which is what we're after, but at the last minute fell short. So on a personal level, yes, great disappointment, but my feeling was much more about the party and its supporters and its sympathizers, both in Ghana and across the world, who had been disappointed in what had happened. And I felt more strongly about them than I did about myself. I've been in politics now for nearly 35 years, and I know that it's an up and down exercise. I mean, there are times you make it, there are times you don't. So personally, yes, I was disappointed. Clearly, I think it would be abnormal if one didn't feel a sense of disappointment.
Did you feel rejected as a candidate, as you had been rejected by the people?
I didn't.
At the second
and that's
ballot?
why I'm back. I didn't. I think that in an election which was in effect statistically a dead heat, you can't be talking about being rejected. The showing that we made was a strong one. Even though, and I think that this is something perhaps that the discussion that has taken place both in our party and in the country since the election has not focused on particularly strongly. The third term agenda is never easy. Yes, Tony Blair and the Labour Party did it in England, but they did it from a very, very, very strong background. I mean, they had won a huge majority in Blair's first term, which was being consistently whittled down since then. But as a rule, the third term agenda is not easy. We saw what happened to McCain, the Republican Party in America. But I think that what was heartening and encouraging for me is that despite the difficulties involved in the third term victory for a ruling party, was how strongly the MPP continued to show. At the end of the day, there were marked differences between what happened to us in 2008 and what happened, for instance, to the NDC in 2000. The ruling government at the time, its candidate, the then sitting vice president, arrived at the elections after 8 years of President Rawlings and managed, 44% in the first round and more or less the same amount in the second round. I did much better than that. So the sense that the country had rejected the MPP and myself, I didn't feel it very strongly at the time. As far as I was concerned, we were in a very close race, and I was beaten by a head, as it were, if you like the language of the racehorse, the race course. And so as far as that's concerned, no, I didn't feel that sense of rejection.
Now, after that, politically, what happened was the MPP then decided to make changes in the way in which it elected its flag bearer.
The first thing that the MPP did was to try and examine as to why. Because the truth has to be said, most of us felt we were going to win the election. And what happened? A group of people were set up by the then chairman, Peter McMahon, to traveled across the length and breadth of the country to have a look at why the result of 2008 came as it did. Some lessons have been learned from that. But some of us felt very strongly that there were some reforms of our party structures that were long overdue, and that the opportunity presented itself after this election to undertake some of those reforms. If you've been following the developments in the MPP, there's been a growing demand that we move to American-style primaries, where every single member of the MPP would be allowed to participate in choosing the MPP leader. I happen to support that point of view. I think that so long as we can maintain the necessary safeguards, making sure that infiltrators and non-MPP people come and choose our candidate for us, so long as we can make sure that that has to be the ultimate goal of our party, that we get into a situation whereby one MPP person, one vote for US-style primaries. But the safeguards, the institutional safeguards that would make that possible have not yet been developed by the party. The record keeping, how accurate is the register of our party in terms of membership, those kind of important technical matters had not yet been sufficiently addressed by us. So therefore, we came to this middle view that even we're not prepared to go in one swoop from the closed Congress, the 10 votes per constituency, to the ultimate of the one person, one vote US-style primary. There was this intermediary position, which would mean still a significant expansion in the numbers of people that would then participate in the decision. I supported strongly that exercise because I think at the end of the day, a party that prides itself on its democratic ancestry, on its democratic credentials, on its democratic commitment, clearly there's every reason why as much as possible, as many people as possible, should be involved in critical decisions of the party. And there can be nothing more critical than choosing the leader of the party. That is what the presidential candidate is, effectively, until the election process is, the national election.